Let's step right into the shadows today, guys, because we are unraveling one of the absolute most chilling mysteries out there. We're talking about the truly terrifying case of Black Hollow Hospital and the completely unexplained disappearance of independent journalist Ricardo Hale. In this explainer, we're going to dig deep into the evidence, the dark history, and the exact minute-by-minute timeline of what went down when one guy decided to face an abandoned nightmare completely alone. Okay, just let that sink in for a second. They never left this place. Those were the final haunting words caught on a digital audio recorder inside a massive building that had been sitting entirely empty for over 2 decades. No power, no patients, no doctors, literally nothing. So, you gotta ask yourself, what could possibly make an empty, decaying building so incredibly dangerous? Well, to figure that out, we have to rewind to the very beginning. Section 1. The Black Hollow Legend. Way before it became an active crime scene, or, the ultimate ghost hunter's nightmare, this place was a medical facility that just suddenly went completely dark. And the craziest part is the wild contrast between the official story and what the locals actually experienced. The government claimed they abruptly shut it down simply because it was an unsafe structure. Right. Just your standard, boring, bureaucratic red tape. But the locals, they told a drastically different story. We're talking claims of heavy footsteps, blood-curdling screams, and whispers echoing from the empty halls every single night. Some folks even swore they heard voices calling out their specific names from the darkness. The police went out there multiple times, checked the whole place out, and found absolutely nothing. So, to give you some context, this massive facility was originally built way back in the 1940s. The plan was to treat thousands of patients during a really deadly outbreak. But fast forward a bit, and after years of those bizarre, unexplained incidents we just talked about, they just locked the doors, slapped chains on the gates, and walked away. Over the decades, the hospital just sat there, rotting behind rusted fences and overgrown trees, eventually earning the title of the most feared abandoned location in the entire country. Like nobody, and I mean absolutely nobody, would dare step foot inside after midnight. Section 2. Enter the skeptic. You know how it goes, right? Every terrifying legend eventually draws in that one person who's totally determined to prove it's all fake. Enter Ricardo Hale. He was an independent journalist who basically made his entire living exposing fake paranormal stuff. He was a massive skeptic. When he first heard about the Black Hollow rumors, he literally laughed it off, calling it another internet myth designed to scare people. For Ricardo, this wasn't some huge warning sign. It was a total goldmine. He figured if he could just spend one night in there and prove the whole thing was a hoax, he'd have a viral documentary on his hands. So October 2025 rolls around, and Ricardo drives out to this super isolated hospital all by himself. And look at what he brought with him. Just a flashlight, a handheld camera, some audio gear, and basic overnight supplies. That is it. When you really think about it, the guy was incredibly vulnerable. No backup crew, no security detail, no cell service to quickly call for help. His game plan was straightforward. Survive the night, hit record, and expose the truth to the world. Section 3. The Midnight Shift. All right, let's actually trace Ricardo's footsteps into the pitch-black hospital. Right off the bat, he steps inside, and the place is literally frozen in time. You've got thick dust coating the floors, old patient files just scattered everywhere, and empty wheelchairs just sitting abandoned in these long, endless hallways. But the creepiest detail was the atmosphere itself. As Ricardo pushed deeper into the building, the outside world just vanished. No wind, no bugs, just this suffocating, heavy silence. At first, though, nothing happens. Ricardo is actually walking around cracking jokes into his camera, making fun of the local rumors, acting like it's just another Tuesday. But then we look at the timeline. At 10:43 p.m., he's inside, confident, laughing. But at 11:57 p.m., literally 3 minutes before midnight, the entire vibe of the place violently shifts. His audio recorder just randomly starts blasting this heavy, aggressive static. Then, out of nowhere, a loud metallic scraping sound echoes from the floor above him. Ricardo immediately stops joking. You can see on the camera he is genuinely freaked out for the first time. He starts creeping up the stairs. And then, boom, 12 a.m. hits, right on the dot, exactly when the urban legends said it would happen. His mic picks up these incredibly faint voices, just echoing through the pitch-black hallway. At first, the voices are super muffled, kind of impossible to make out. Ricardo is standing in the dark, calling out, "Who's there? Who's there?" over and over again. Total silence. But then, out of the static, one single voice cuts through, crystal clear. It whispers, "Ricardo, don't leave." Now, Here is the detail that will absolutely make your blood run cold. Ricardo had never, at any point, spoken his actual name inside that building. Mere seconds after he hears his own name whispered from the shadows, a massive explosive bang echoes from a patient room right next to him. Ricardo is visibly shaking at this point. He whips around, his flashlight beam frantically slicing through the dark, and he rushes into the room. And it's empty. Completely empty, but sitting right in the dead center of the floor, perfectly caught in his shaking flashlight beam, is one of those old wheelchairs. And it is slowly rolling forward. Completely on its own. Section 4. The Basement Secrets. Okay, this is where things pivot from a creepy ghost story into a very real, very dark historical nightmare. Ricardo totally panics, which obviously, and sprints down to a lower corridor to get away from whatever is upstairs. He ends up stumbling upon this heavy basement door that's actually wedged open. He goes in and he finds the absolute motherlode. Hidden under these thick plastic tarps are hundreds of secret, classified medical files, and they reveal a horrifying reality. Back in the 1970s, the hospital wasn't just treating people. They were running illegal experiments on terminally ill patients. They had this completely underground, undocumented behavioral testing program. And the most chilling part? A huge number of these patients just vanished. No official death records, no transfers, they were just gone. Suddenly, Ricardo connects the dots. The hospital didn't close because of structural damage. The government shut it down to cover up decades of absolute atrocities. But guys, literally the second Ricardo realizes what he's looking at, the moment he is physically holding the actual proof of these massive crimes in his hands, the whole situation explodes. The heavy, rusted machinery down in that abandoned basement suddenly roars to life. The power kicks on by itself. And those voices, they come back. But this time, they are absolutely not whispering. They are screaming. Section 5. The Final Recording. All right, brace yourselves, because the final minutes of Ricardo Hale's footage are pure nightmare fuel. The camera is just violently shaking as he takes off sprinting blindly through these labyrinth hallways, desperately looking for a way out. The old emergency lights start flashing this harsh, aggressive red all over the peeling walls. The whispers have now fully escalated into these deafening, chaotic screams coming from literally every direction at once. And then the video just cuts out. Boom. Pitch black. The only thing you can hear is Ricardo's heavy, panicked breathing in the dark. And then he mutters that chilling final sentence we talked about at the very start of this explainer. They never left this place. After that, dead silence. 3 days. That is how long it took for the authorities to finally track down Ricardo's equipment. They found his handheld camera just lying on the floor right near the main hospital entrance. An entrance that, by the way, had been permanently sealed shut from the outside. But Ricardo? He was just gone. They never found his body. Not a single shred of physical evidence was ever recovered to explain how a grown man could just vanish into thin air. Which really leaves us all with one final, deeply unsettling question. Was Black Hollow Hospital truly haunted by the lost souls of its dark past? Or was there something even darker, something entirely human, that was violently desperate to keep those basement secrets hidden? Ricardo walked through those doors looking for the truth, and instead, he became the newest chapter in the legend. And you know, they say if you go stand by those rusted front gates tonight, right at the stroke of midnight, you can still hear the voices echoing through those empty halls. Anyway, thank you so much for hanging out with me for this explainer. Until next time, stay curious and, yeah, maybe keep the lights on tonight.